Welcome back to another episode of the Unqualified for Space podcast. My name is Michael, and today I have as my guest longtime friend, Mr. Johnathan Bowerman. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Good. How are you doing?
You know, just living the dream here at home, trying to work, but kids keeping us busy. Yeah, trying not to, but you only do what you can do, right?
Yeah, there's only so much.
Yeah. So, like every episode of this show, I always start off with, like, what interests you or doesn't interest you about space? Like, why do you care about it in the first place?
I've always been interested in space. I feel like going back to being a kid, like I remember too, my parents had these little cassette tapes that I'd listen to to fall asleep that just, history of space and everything. And I don't know. So just always been interested in it. I think it's just the fact that there's so much out there that we still don't know, and just all that. It's just all super exciting. Especially now, it's almost like another coming of age with the space race. With trying to get back to the moon and Mars and all that. So it's pretty cool. And my love for space and flight. That led me to, that's why I studied aerospace engineering. So I don't do anything now working with space, but
yeah, but still in the aerospace industry though. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got kind of lucky growing up in Florida where, we did just a few houses down from each other up until, like high school age.
Yeah.
It's easy just to see launches. I mean, we're just lucky that way.
So,
yeah. I think most people, well, I guess not most, but a lot of people who live here just kind of, it's just part of normal everyday life. So you just kind of get used to it. Yeah. I've talked with a lot of people who have never seen a launch because they're obviously in other states where they don't launch anything. And they're like, oh, you're so lucky. Like, well, yeah. Yeah. Like where you are right now, living in Kansas, not really doing a whole lot of launching except for whatever you guys are doing. You've done stuff with launching rockets, if you'd like to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so back when I was in school at Wichita State, we competed in a NASA competition as our senior design. So we had to design and build a rocket, reusable rocket, and had to target a certain altitude. So we designed an air brake system to try and hit that target. And then we had another mission where we carried a drone inside the rocket. And after landing successfully, we had to deploy it autonomously and drop a little simulated navigational beacon. So it's supposed to be simulating like basically a mission to Mars or something to that effect. So that was pretty cool. It was pretty challenging. But yeah, so.
Did it give you a renewed, appreciation for like companies like Rocket Lab and SpaceX who are doing reusable rockets as to how hard that is and challenging?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you see what they do, and then we've got this 12-foot rocket that we're beating our head against the wall trying to get everything to work, flawlessly, which doesn't always happen. So it's pretty amazing, what all goes into this stuff. And I mean, even now, like, space aside, like I work at Spirit Aerosystems, so I work on the 737 MAX for stress. So, we analyze structures and all that, but it's pretty amazing, like even the designs and some other stuff, like how many problems and difficulties they run into because, they design something this way, but then you get on the shop floor and they're looking at it, they're like, well, we can't actually put this together. So, from having built stuff myself and seeing that, you get that appreciation for the engineering side, but then also the actual building side for like the shop workers, where it's just like you give them plans for something. They're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, just blowing their damn mind. Like, what am I even looking at right now?
Yeah. It's like trying to, put a circle in a square peg or something. So.
So is there a reason in particular that aerospace was the target for you? Like what made you want to go after that?
So like I said, as a kid, just I was always fascinated with space for whatever reason. I think it's just just the magnitude of it, just how big, you know, space is compared to us. And just there's so much that, you know, we still don't know. And then also, like you said, you know, for us growing up in Florida, getting to see those launches like that. And then, you know, when I was a kid too, my parents took me to one of the air shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really was a big, you know, push for me just because I fell in love with it then. And for a long time too, I was actually really into helicopters.
I still am. Yeah.
I always wanted to, you know, learn to fly a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
It would also be cool in the future to work for like Bell or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, work for helicopters, which at Spirit, we actually, I'm trying to think what it is. It's, we worked on a couple Sikorsky projects and some other stuff for some helicopters. So not me, obviously, but so some cool stuff there. Like it's interesting. So I never thought I would go down the path of structures, but I just happened to sort of stumble into this job.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty cool just seeing like the bare bones underneath of, you know, the final product, like what it actually looks like underneath and all that and everything that goes into it. It's pretty cool.
Obviously an important job in the stress department, because if it can't handle aerodynamic loads, then you got a bigger problem on your hands when it gets up.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I've ridden as passenger a lot more than flying in helicopters. In Afghanistan, things, you know, we took helicopters everywhere. But I have taken a few lessons, and one joke that a Navy pilot told me once, he said that he was a F-16 fighter pilot, then switched to helicopters. And he was like, yeah, helicopters are way more fun, yet they're trying to kill you every second they're off the ground, because they don't fly, they beat the air into submission, is what he said. So I found that interesting.
You have two different pedals too, right? For your feet. And so yeah, I've seen a lot of things they do, I think too, from like stress and structure side, is like trying to dampen some of the vibrations on there, just because it can be very fatigue heavy flying those, which can affect, you know how long, you know, you can actually fly, because helicopter might be able to make it, but pilot, they get fatigued and can so yeah,
you get a lot of reverb in the pedals. I almost have my private pilot's license on single engine, like Cessna 172 type aircraft. And you pretty much have no feedback through the pedal unless you're going through turbulent air, you know, very minimal feedback. So yeah, it's much more fatiguing, mainly from the instruments you have to read, because you have a lot more gauges, you know, for pressures and things you got to be aware of. But so we talked a little bit about reusability a minute ago. Do you think that is the most important, that it's like the holy grail of, you know, space travel, or do you think there's other things that are more important?
That's a good question. I feel like you could go either way on the whole reusability, especially because, well, obviously it needs to be reusable if you're trying to go to play somewhere like Mars, you know, if you want to come back anyway.
You know, yeah, a little stipulation.
Yeah. You know, read the fine print, but but in terms of, you know, launching satellites and other things, sometimes the reusability, you know, it could go both ways, because it's pretty expensive too to refurbish and get everything ready to launch again. But as far as other important factors, I mean, I think it's probably up there, because, you know, if we really want to get further into space and explore more, and, you know, push the boundaries, like I said, you know, like even if we make it to Mars, like you want to be able to get back. But I think there's also a lot probably left too, in terms of like, you know, rovers or autonomous type stuff to deploy in places. So I think that could be a big push. I mean, robotics as well, just, you know, even here on Earth. So.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, people like Elon Musk, who runs SpaceX, and people like Peter Beck, who run Rocket Lab, Rocket Lab was kind of slower to the game of reusability, mainly because they don't have much margin as it is in the small sat market. But Elon heavily pushes for reusability because it's over time. Obviously, it's cheaper to launch 10 of a rocket if you can reuse it versus one that you can just throw away. So a lot of people have varying opinions on that. So that's why I figured I would see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way, but I like the idea of reusability. It makes sense. Maybe not everything should be, aimed at that, depending on the type of mission and such, but yeah.
And you do have a much higher payload capacity to orbit if you're not reusing it, but then, we're just still throwing hundreds of millions of dollars away, basically. So it's that fine line, right?
Yeah. And I don't know how much, I'm trying to think when I heard the rumor or where it was, but, would be first getting back to the moon and then, being able to launch from the moon to go to Mars from there, just because, you have a higher payload from there just because there's less gravity. So, you don't use much fuel to get off the ground. So,
did you happen to catch the NASA article about a week ago that they announced the new contracts for the landers and such?
No, I haven't seen that.
So about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago now, they announced SpaceX, Blue Origin, National Team, and then Dynetics were awarded contracts for lunar landers.
Gotcha.
And
exciting.
Yeah, SpaceX is going to use the Starship rocket they're developing, but in a lunar-only fashion, so it won't have a lot of things that will require for the Mars missions. Okay. But Blue Origin's got a capsule, like spider lander, like they use an Apollo type deal.
And then NASA and Boeing were also working on the SLS.
Yeah,
I feel like they're pretty far behind schedule with.
Supposedly they have all the Block 1 and Block 2 ones almost completed, but whether it'll actually launch is
Yeah, I was down in Huntsville, the Marshall Space Flight Center. Just about this time last year, closer. It was in early April, so month and a year, or a year and a month. But we got to tour the Marshall Space Flight Center, and so we got to see sections of the SLS, and I mean that thing is massive.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
It's an absolute beast when you look at the capabilities of it, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
I think they increased the output of the engine something like it's like 10 to 20%, something over what the space shuttle used. So if that's the case, then that's pretty insane. But I guess if you're
it'll be the largest rocket ever. So I mean
that's I hope because SpaceX has a super heavy Starship combo rocket thing going on there. Blue Origin's coming out with the New Glenn, and then you'd have SLS. So I would hope that they'd all compete head to head. That'd be exciting to see. But
I thought I had seen where there was a little bit with, NASA was also talking with SpaceX, having some, collaboration there with SLS, but I haven't, looked into that too much. So,
yeah, I'm not sure if they're like collaborating on the rocket itself, but I know NASA relies heavily on SpaceX to get supplies up to ISS and things. So
yeah,
and obviously they're about to be taking astronauts to Gale on the 27th for the DM-2 Crew Dragon mission. So.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the landings from SpaceX? Being down there in Orlando?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them
in person.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, the reminiscent of the space shuttle days when they come in to land at the Cape here, sonic boom coming over Tampa or whatever, because they normally came in over Texas and then down over the Gulf.
Yeah.
So when the booster comes back down, it's just and especially like the Falcon Heavy launch in 2018, the first one, I was there for that, and you had 6 booms from the 2 boosters, like simultaneous. So it was just an awesome thing to see. And coordinating 2 orbital boosters to land almost simultaneously is, I mean, I know I couldn't do that, but that's why they got smart people there doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, I know in the early days when they're having trouble with those landings, they're trying to be too precise. Actually, like they're trying to target like dead center of the landing pad, which was just just too difficult to do. So I heard they changed it so it was just sort of looking for sort of a range where if they were just within a certain perimeter of that center, they were calling it good. So.
Yeah, lately from all the ones they've had, they've pretty much been landing like on the X, the center of it. But you still see a few every once in a while. They're a little bit off center or whatever. But a landing is landing, and that's $30 million or whatever they're saving. So
I studied flight controls a bit in school, but all the coding and programming, all that goes into it, that's not my cup of tea. So. I have a lot of respect for guys that do that and are good at that. And I mean, it's amazing how much control they have, and it's
got to do a lot of gimbaling.
Thinking back to when we were kids, the thought of this is just like there's no way, like
that'll never happen.
Video game,
But I mean, like a lot of people think too that when they come down to land, especially on the actually landing back at the Cape or whatever, which they haven't done too much, but a lot of people think they just come down and land right on it, which obviously that's not. That it comes down over the water and then it just laterally pushes it sideways at the last minute to actually land. So a lot of people don't understand that flight control process, but it's cool to actually watch it.
Yeah, I mean, how complex some of those gimbal mechanisms have to be. I mean, it's pretty amazing just how flawlessly, you can make something like that work. So
on a clear night here on the night launches, you can look up as it's, actually get into the upper limits of the atmosphere here. And you can see the RCS just bursting off because it just creates these huge plumes. But that's a cool thing to see as well. A lot of people think it's aliens or something, but
I mean, maybe. Right?
Every once in a while, they do a launch from California, and I think the first one, it was an evening launch, but like right at the dusk time. So as it was going through the air, it creates a phenomenon. I forget the exact name of it, but everyone thought it was aliens. People were calling the police, and like LAPD was getting lit up. People were like, "There's aliens coming in." Like, no, that's not at all. But okay,
All I can think about is the movie Mars Attacks from when we were kids.
Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, there's probably better ones, but that one's funny. So
classic for us, right?
Yeah. That was like our movie when we were a kid though. But I wanted to ask, how do you feel about the whole return to the moon? Do you think that's like the logical next step? Or do you believe that we should be shooting for something different since we've like already been there, quote unquote?
I mean, for me personally, like I'm really excited about it. Like the thought of seeing like a lunar landing, like live for us would just be. I mean, it kind of gives you chills. Like think about it. But I think it's a good logical step because I mean, we haven't been there in ages, and if we're planning on going to Mars, I think there's still. There's a lot that we still don't know about the moon and other we can probably learn. And, I think it's, a smart decision, a stepping stone just to further space exploration.
Yeah, I'm super hyped about it. I think that it'll provide some very useful data because we still have all that data from the moon missions, but we have no way to apply probably some of it at least. So I think it'll give us new data with newer instruments. We'll be able to do some new experiments. And then if we can build a base on there, like you said, we could launch stuff from there to other places and, no gravity to hold you down really. So.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, there's a lot to be learned, I think. But, you also have to draw a line too, probably to where like, okay, we've reached this point, and where do we go next? So,
yeah, my main holdup, as long as it doesn't become like, okay, we got to the moon and that's all we're going to spend our resources on, right?
yeah,
You know, like I just hope that it's all right, we got there, sweet. Now let's move on and go to Mars or go to Europa or whatever we want to do past that.
wow, let's go to Pluto.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, hey, Juno did it, so
yeah, let's make it a planet again, right?
we should start a petition for that. Make Pluto a planet again.
Awesome. I'll be the first to sign.
I thought it was quite funny because obviously growing up, we had the whole moniker of how you learn the planets and all that stuff. And people were super pissed when they downgraded it to not being a planet anymore. I don't know what the new moniker you'd say. I guess you just get rid of that P, but you know.
I still consider it a planet, but
yeah.
You know, old habits die hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's just what we were raised on. So it's hard to get out of that habit, but
yeah.
Yeah, I was joking with somebody the other day about the moon mission, and they said they're going to stream it in 4K. You know, so it's going to be like this awesome. I'd hope it'd be an 8K because then when it's downgraded to actually watching it, it'd be like 4K. But
yeah,
because most people are saying 4K, but then they're actually watching it in like 1K or 2. But you know, my vote is for lunar lander or lunar rover races. That's my vote. I think we should have that on the moon. That's some valuable data.
There we go. I'd be down to watch that.
It'd be the new sport, right? Just racing on the moon.
Like lunar NASCAR.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And it's obviously it's electric, so you know, sustainable transport.
There you go.
But
get behind that.
Yeah. I'd be 100% willing to volunteer for that, but you know, I don't know if NASA would send me. But maybe Elon could. Maybe I'll write him and say, "Hey, Elon, send me to the moon with your mission, and I'll race a lander around."
Yeah, send you up there in a Tesla. Or you can take your own Tesla.
Yeah, I could take my own. Just take my Model 3, and you know, good to go.
The family would laugh about that, but
yeah, I asked her about it, and I was like, "Hey, would you know?" Because she knows I go to space, and I ask her all the time, like, "Hey, you want to go to Mars?" She's like, "Yeah." 100% no. I'll see you like when you get back type thing. And I was like, well, that's if I survive and make it back. But yeah, sweet. Appreciate the support. You know,
support. Yeah.
She's like, you do what you want, right? Yep. So would you go if you had the chance?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I mean, part of me is 100% yeah, like let's do it. But then, you know, doesn't depend on how confident I am in, you know,
in a return,
getting there safely. And, you know, you give me 50-50 odds getting back, it's probably good, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably better than what you normally have going up there. So, right.
Yeah. You know, we can get you to Mars, but you're not coming back. And then it might be like, well, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a previous guest who I asked that question to, and he was like, maybe if they had like Netflix and a Starbucks and all this other crap, and I was like, it might take about, you know, 100 years or something like that for that to happen. Who knows? But,
impressed with you.
Yeah, you could. I mean, they have coffee up on ISS. It's just, you know, not the way you normally drink coffee, but it's just in a pouch with a two-way valve. But, you know, it's the same thing.
It's just like Starbucks.
Yeah. So would it depend on like distance wise? So like would the moon be like 100% yeah, and Mars would kind of be like or does it not? It's the same thing?
No, I would definitely go to the moon. All in. Like, it's the moon. Mm-hmm. Mars, I'd be curious, but then, you know, there's a lot of dust storms there. You know. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or take goggles with you. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I think and there's a lot of ideas about terraforming, which is obviously a long-term project. You know, it's not going to be you land and in a year you're terraforming the planet. Have you ever thought about like all those ideas you've heard about?
Not too much. Movie, every time I watch The Martian,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that always gets me thinking just about like the possibilities of what could be like once we get to Mars. Because I think we will get there. You know, it's just a matter of how long it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, just getting there is going to be a huge task in itself. And then, you know, before we can actually do anything significant there, or anywhere for that matter, you know, you have to prove that you can repeatedly get back there over and over again. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool to think about, but, well, you know, getting to something where there's people actually living there in some sort of form of a habitat type thing, will that happen in our lifetime? You know, I don't know. I'd like to think so, because that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it'll definitely happen. I think there's a little too much momentum currently to stop, unless some catastrophic thing were to happen with like, you know, these crewed missions returning to space, then that might kind of put everything back on its heels. So hopefully that never happens again, but that's unlikely, you know, for 100% that never to happen. I think they're shooting for 2024 as the first, like, you know, test mission to just launch a rocket over there and, you know, make sure it lands. So I'd hope by 2028 we have the first manned mission. I would hope.
Yeah.
But, you know, who knows if it'll meet that deadline with the transfer window and all that.
And a lot will depend too on, you know, the manned mission or the planned manned missions to back to the moon too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're shooting for still 24 for that date as well. I think it's going to be kind of a simultaneous run to like some to the moon and then just like uncrewed missions to Mars. But
yeah,
because obviously, I'm sure you know, landing on Mars is extremely difficult. Yeah. Like 80% of the stuff that's tried has failed landing. So not great odds, but you know, if we've mastered it a few times, obviously with rovers and such. So,
and then one of the ones for NASA, they had it just smashed into the surface because they had it. I think they had it in. I forget if it was programmed in feet per second, but the readout was in meters per second or something to that effect. And obviously, that's a big no-no. So,
yeah,
you know, that's a good way to just, you know, piss a lot of money away there. But
yeah, some dummy didn't think about metric versus, you know, imperial and all that, I guess. So that was, when I read that, that was literally the dumbest thing I've ever probably heard. Like, yeah. You were the dumbest smart person in the world if you forgot to convert, you know, feet to metric. But, you know, hey. But yeah, I think that we'll definitely have people there. Do I think it'll be more than just like a few people that are just pure scientists, researchers for a long time? Most likely no. But I'd hope by, let me think of some arbitrary, I don't know, maybe like 2035, 2040, that we start sending like everyday people over there. But who knows?
We making a bet on this, or?
Well, we can if you want. we can do it. I would hope so, optimistically, but we'll see.
I got 2038.
2038. All right.
Yeah, seems like a solid number.
I'll say 2035, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Winner buys the other one a steak dinner or something. You know, who knows?
On the moon?
Yeah, sure. Whichever. You know, if we're gonna throw the bet out there, whatever we want to do here.
There we go.
So since you work for aerospace company, I wanted to, and obviously we're both interested in space. What's your thoughts on people like digging in, only supporting one company or another? Do you think that's a dumb idea? Do you think, I mean, everyone's got their opinion, obviously, but do you think it should be more like bipartisan?
Yeah, I think it should, having sort of that sort of space race, just companies competing against each other. It's going to force others to work harder, produce things faster, and just, I think, overall bring out a better product, because everyone's going to be pushing to be better, better, better. But then, once we've proven like we can get to Mars, then I think there could be more of a need for some collaboration, because just the magnitude of this. I think a lot of companies, are going to be able to do one thing really well, while others are able to do something else really well. So it makes sense to sort of, collaborate. But, having that competition too, I think is just really going to drive people to, to reach higher limits.
Yeah. Because obviously, like SpaceX and Elon are very polarizing, figures, and they do a lot of stuff that's like insanely difficult, which everything in space is difficult. It's just by small, degree percentages of how much harder something else is.
Yeah.
But, like, because SpaceX is all about reusability and, pushing innovation, and they're not a government entity, so they can do that, right? They have all this freedom of, they're not backed necessarily, even though NASA pays them a lot of money for things, by government, so they can kind of do what they want. But then you have companies like ULA, which do a lot of the NRO, like classified military satellite missions, who have almost like a flawless record, but they, expend the entire rocket. So there's just a huge like beef with all that. And as much as I understand it, I don't also get the viewpoint, even though I might follow SpaceX more than most others, but I still follow everything. It's kind of like one of those that maybe people should kind of like get over that and broaden it a little bit, but I understand, I guess, where they're coming from. Throwing away money is never good.
Yeah.
But
if you're going to throw it away, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's people get hot about it. I've had this discussion many times where, I'll say, well, like I said, I support, all the SpaceX stuff, but I also watch all the other stuff. And people are like, oh, you shouldn't even care about that. You should only care about this. And like, well, then that's Russia right now with getting our astronauts to space, right? If SpaceX was the only one operating, then they could almost, we wouldn't do it, but they could almost just be like Russians, like, oh, I'm going to charge whatever the hell I want now. If you don't have competition, you don't have that bartering.
And even if you're, solely in Camp SpaceX, like you back them 100%, and you think everything, everyone else is doing is just garbage. I mean, still, like I said before, you want those companies to also succeed, because it's going to push SpaceX. Because, if other companies are, lured and all of them, like if they're doing well, doing things, or even starting to do things better than SpaceX, Musk is going to push to be, because he wants to be that, be the best, but also like he has his mind dead set on getting to Mars. So I think that competition is really healthy for SpaceX.
Yeah, and it's only going to drive costs down, because if you're only the sole proprietor, then it might be enormously expensive.
Charge whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. And but with all these different players in the game, then that's not only jobs for the, communities that they're in, which are thousands of jobs. I think there's like over 7,000 at SpaceX, and probably the same at ULA, so without these companies, you wouldn't have all these jobs, which then feeds back. Right. So it's all connected, and people should kind of have that broader view, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But that's a great point about, jobs, because the more companies there are, more success they're having, bigger they'll get, more jobs you have for people, from obviously from an engineering perspective, but also, all the way up to business. And then, you have, shop workers who are going to actually be building it. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but people, they camp and kind of, because I'm sure there's people who like only support ULA and hate everything SpaceX does, and there's people who probably only support NASA and only want to see SLS. You know, so there's camps on all sides, I'm sure.
Yeah, and also people that are probably, you know, torn on, you know, they want to support, you know, the space race, like getting to back to the moon, getting to Mars and all this, but then it's also sort of the, you know, just for the nature of the game, like, you know, I work at Spirit Aerosystems, so I'm on a commercial airliner program for Boeing's 737 MAX. But when you work in a commercial industry like that, you know, like MAX is grounded now, so that hurts Spirit big time, because that's the MAX is, you know, like 50% of our company's revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that takes a huge hit, and then you have to do layoffs, and then a lot of people are losing jobs, and you just have, you know, a lot there. So, you know, it can potentially be that way too with the space race. You know, there's a lot sort of to gamble on,
mm-hmm.
to speak from an investor's perspective. But, you know, but anyone who knows the aerospace industry knows that, you know, that's the game you're getting into. So,
yeah,
you know, if you can't handle it, then, you know, get out. Like, I mean, I've been at Spirit for just over a year now. And I mean, we've gone through, this is our second time being furloughed for 4 days. We've gone through 2 or 3 rounds of layoffs. Max is grounded. We've got COVID, you know.
Yeah, just getting it from all sides.
It's only been a year. It's just like, what?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like you said, that's par for the course, right? That's the name of the game. Yeah. I mean, you find a problem, and if it's a big enough problem, then it's just going to ground everything, you know. At least if it's something relating to public travel, I guess, you know, obviously other things might not be so much, but.
So when do you see, so you were betting for 2035, that was just for like daily launches, but like when do you see the first, like, you know, non-scientists, non-engineers, like just first public, like taken to the moon? Or
yeah, that's what I was saying. I was thinking sometime around there.
You think that? Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's a very optimistic view, and I mean, realistically, that probably won't happen by that time.
What about just space in general, not just going to the moon, but like getting people up there and just like orbiting Earth and then coming back? Do you see that sooner, or do you think that's been any on the radar of some of these companies?
I think it's definitely on the radar. Cost effectiveness, it's where, like, it's going to happen. There's already tons of people who have signed up, like with Virgin Galactic, and a Japanese billionaire bought up a whole SpaceX rocket to do a moon mission. But I mean,
Virgin Galactic sort of scaled back though lately. Yeah. Haven't they? I don't even know if they're even focusing on that at the moment, but.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I have to look up their info. I don't remember if they're actually passing the Kármán line. I believe they are, because they're saying you're going to space. Obviously, if you don't pass that line, you're not in space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to happen.
They had one of their test flights for something a couple of years ago, that bad crash, and that sort of set them back. So
yeah, it killed one of the pilots, I believe, and injured the other one. But he's back to doing what he's doing before. But I think commercial travel to LEO, low Earth orbit, will be way before going there. Yeah, we're back. Yeah, I think that commercial travel to low Earth orbit 100% will happen before Mars. But when do I see it happening for, like, you and I? You know, someone who just can't throw, I don't know, it probably costs like $100,000, maybe $2,000 to get up there per person if you have at least like 10 people going up at a time.
Let me just get my checkbook, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just chump change, right?
Of course. Yeah.
I wish. Yeah, I think probably similar timeline to getting that to people going to Mars, maybe even a little bit after, because even with reusability being what it's becoming, mostly with, you know, like the space, and Blue Origin's going to shoot for the same deal once they actually launch New Glenn. It's still going to be enormously expensive. I mean, and getting the average person to afford it I think it'll be easier doing that to go to Mars than it will be to low Earth orbit, only because most people who are going to do that to go to Mars won't be coming back. They're going to be going there to try and stay there. So what does it matter if you sold your house and, you know, use all that money or get a loan or whatever you're doing?
I'd have to sell my house probably for about 100 times more than it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, most likely, I imagine it'll be a system of, like you see in tons of movies, where you go there and you're like working off your cost or whatever. I don't know if that's the way it'll happen. I imagine that's probably the best way maybe to go about it. I mean, I don't know.
Or maybe we're sending convicts there. I don't know. We're just coming down the rabbit hole.
It's going to become a penal colony, or, you know. But what's your take on that? Like, do you see a timeline for that?
I don't really see one in my head. I think I would just have to see, you know, if we can successfully get a rocket there and land on Mars, then I think we can start, you know, sort of planning the timeline. But until, you know, that happens, I feel like it's very difficult to say. And obviously, you can sort of set a timeline, but if you have a setback in, you know, just getting to Mars in the first place, you know, without a manned mission, then, you know, that just, you know, domino effect there, and, you know, that's really going to push back things, you know, moving forward. But
yeah, unless we do like what I'm sure many people besides Elon have had this idea, but he's the only one I've heard about speak, you know, recently in the last 10 years or so. Is his idea was get a bunch of ships up to orbit en masse and then all depart at like one time, because obviously you only have, was it every 24 28 month window to go to Mars with the transfer windows. So I mean, you do one launch every 2.5 years, you one tiny setback and everybody's gonna be like, yeah, no. Like we're not gonna do that maybe. So like you're saying, it's all heavily dependent on everything working perfectly, which space is difficult. It's never going to happen, you know?
Yeah. It's just one problem after another. So
yeah,
it's just how well you can cope with that problem.
Yeah. Because I was talking with about somebody from work the other day, and they were asking me about some of this stuff. And I was talking about how when we go to Mars, people are going to die. It's just going to happen. You know, it's just be something we accept. As difficult as that may be for, you know, to accept, we should just accept it right now. And this person they're kind of like floored by that, because they're like, well, if we even have one person die, what's the point of it? So I figured I know how I feel about that, but what do you feel?
I mean, there's, in a perfect world, yeah, we could get there and, you know, repeatedly get there and have no issues whatsoever. No one dies. But the reality of it and just how dangerous space travel is, and you look up the number of astronauts who have died just, you know, just getting off, you know, Earth. Like you said, like it's inevitable. There will be death. And yeah, it's tough to just accept that. But, you know, it's more the astronauts, you know, they know that every time anyone that goes up to, you know, the space station or wherever, you know, you're accepting that risk. They know the dangers involved in it. So, yeah, I think you just have to accept that, and you can't really think about it too much. Like, it's just, it's going to happen. So,
yeah, I think about it just in a very like military way, you know, how we kind of live life over being deployed and stuff is, if it happens, it happens. But, you know, and anything worthwhile doing is always going to be difficult. So that's kind of how I look at it. You know, if it's something that's helping the greater good, then to me, personally opinion, it's an acceptable level of risk to have that if it's helping other people, right?
Yeah, so, definitely. And also for the people that are going to be the first to, you know, that first manned mission to Mars, like, all of them are going to know the risk. But I feel like to some extent, those guys and girls, you know, who are going to be going, you know, if there wasn't a risk, if there was no no danger whatsoever. Like, I feel like now it's sort of almost take away from it, like the accomplishment, because, you know, I think a lot of people, especially astronauts, you know, they know those dangers, but I think they also thrive off of that because it's a challenge and they like that. So
I think they will never say it because I never heard a single one of them say it. And I know me personally, I'm an adrenaline junkie. So pretty much anything stupid that will possibly endanger like my life somewhat. That's why I voluntarily worked in Afghanistan as a private contractor. You know, I've flown helicopters, like skydiving, all this stuff. I think they're all secret adrenaline junkies. They just won't tell you that. I may be wrong. You know, if I ever get a chance to interview one, I'd probably ask that. But I think there's a little bit of something to, like you're saying, excitement is probably half the reasons some people do these things, because it's so challenging that, you know, you're pushing the envelope every second you're up there.
Yeah, just knowing that, like, well, I mess up just the slightest bit, like it's all over, I'm never coming back. That thrill, that, you know, unknown, definitely, you know, gives them that spark. So,
I mean, even on a spacewalk, it's 200-degree difference between the light and, you know, and the dark side. So you mess up the switch on the cooling or the heating system, you're either going to freeze or boil to death inside. You know, so it's like,
pick your poison, right?
Yeah. So like you're saying, I mean, one little mistake, even on something, you know, not simple, spacewalks are not simple, but as simple as just flipping the switch, like they're telling them to do it every 90 minutes that they're out there, you know, that could kill you very quickly. So it's a level of risk, but, you know, like I said, anything worthwhile is worth the risk, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, and like we said, you know, anyone that's coming up there, they're going to know the risks ahead of time. So, you know, obviously if something happens, you know, that's a tragedy. Like, you know, you feel bad, especially for friends and family of that person. But, you know, they know what they're getting themselves into too. So, you know, I don't want to be too blunt or too harsh, but, you know, that's sort of the nature of the beast there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody can say they know what they signed up for, it's an astronaut, right?
Yeah,
they know what they're signing up for. When they sign that line, that's okay. I'm putting my life in the hands of some factory worker halfway across the country or the world, depending on what company it is, and just making sure they did their job right that one day they're building that one part. You know.
Yeah. So.
But I wanted to ask, what do you say to, I don't know if you've ever encountered this, but what do you say to people who say, why are we spending this money on space when we have problems here?
You know, I get the argument there, because you think about, you know, the millions and millions of people, you know, we're pumping into the space race again and all this, where people would say, oh, why can't we just take that money? Think how many, you know, millions of people hungry, you know, that we can feed. But two, I mean, you know, the knowledge that we learn from all these experiments and going to space, you know, they could reap, you know, so many rewards down here on Earth. You know, we learn of, you know, just anything from, you know, maybe ways of just, you know, they've been studying like how our bodies, you know, react with, you know, no gravity and things of that nature. And just, there's so much that we could learn. And like, I feel like there's a lot I could learn that, you know, you can't even think about right now. There's a lot that we can take and apply to here on Earth as well to make Earth a better place. So, you know, I can see both sides of the coin, but, you know, if you don't take the risks and really push the boundaries and try and learn as much as you can, you know, in the long run, you know, you're going to be asking yourself, well, why didn't we do this? Like,
yeah, I'm right there with you. I forget. I think it's a 2-to-1, like return on investment, basically, for space. Like somebody's done the math, and I believe that's the number that they put it on. So every time we're going up there, we're learning so many things that we're applying to here that it's more than, you know, what we're spending getting there in the first place.
Right.
So I get it. You know, there's people who, and I've been to a lot of these places around the world where, you know, people are living and dying by the water that they can go find. You know, like they're helicoptering water to us in some of these places, yet the people there don't have any, and they have to walk for miles, you know. So I get it. But at the same time, some of these people are still alive in some of these remote areas because of technology we learned there with like solar panels and, you know, gravity lights and things that we're deploying to these, you know, areas of need. So I think that it's what we're spending and what we're getting out of it are two completely separate numbers. And obviously what we're getting out of it is way higher than what we're spending on it.
No, definitely. And I mean, you think too, like there's always constant improvements too, in terms of anything with satellites and GPS and like, you know, if you're in, you know, a first world country, like, you know, things people take for granted, like Wi-Fi, internet, you know, just everything, like it's, you know, like you need all this. That's just that there, but there's so much medical, I feel like, technology that you could learn too. You know, it's just, I feel like it's pretty unlimited. But it just really depends too, I think, the way you're looking at the problem too, like, and your current situation. Because if you're one of those people who are, you know, dehydrated and starving or whatever, you're gonna be like, what the hell? Like,
yeah. Like, why the hell do I care about that when I can't, you know, feed my kids or whatever? But yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, like you were saying, with satellites, we've understood weather phenomenon like we've never been able to because of that, and which has saved probably, I don't know, millions of lives.
Hundreds of lives, exactly. So it's, you know, there's
like the thing always says, there's always two sides to a story, right? So I mean, people are, and I get the plight of those people that are saying let's focus on only this, but and me personally, again, personal opinion, if we weren't going to space and we weren't trying to go to Mars and all this stuff that we're trying to do, that it wouldn't be exciting for me. I mean, it'd be a boring ass life in my opinion, you know. Be like, what are we doing? We're just sitting here until something wipes us out. I mean, it's going to happen eventually by something someday. So we need a fallback plan.
So random side note here, what are your thoughts on Space Force?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I'm personally for it. And the reasons are this: each military branch has a specific domain that they go after. You know, Marines are generally like, you know, the not necessarily like light infantry because they have very heavy, you know, elements that they can deploy within. But they're like the first ones in, you know, they secure areas, and then the conventional army will come behind them. And then the Marines will kind of mix in and do stuff. Navy obviously has a sea, and 80% of the military is aircraft, not the Air Force. So, you know, we rule the air and the sea, obviously. And like I said, the Army has the ground, and Air Force is heavy on fueling missions and bomber runs. And so having a Space Force that dedicates solely to the space domain, I think is a good thing, because we have cyber within the military as well. Army has cyber units, you know, Air Force, Navy, all of them do. So I think eventually we'll probably have a cyber branch separate, because the computer domain is becoming, you know, enveloping everything in everybody's life. So it probably natural progression that'll happen too. I personally think it would be a cool thing. I'd love to see what the recruitment's going to be, like what the jobs are opening. Because there was a joke in the Navy that we used to always talk about. Someone who was, I'm trying to put this politely because I don't know if there's kids watching some of this stuff. We're not known in the Navy for generally being the most like articulate, you know, sober people most of the time. But they call them space shuttle door gunners. So those are like the dummies, you know, who, that was just our joke, what we call them. But not gonna lie, I would 100% be a real space shuttle door gunner dude, because that would just be personally, I think that'd be awesome. But you know, That's just
actual job description or title right there.
Yeah, like if I'm actually up in space manning a gun on some random, open door or something, I'm not gonna lie, that would be an awesome job. So, but like, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think people too, when they hear Space Force, they think things that are not what it's actually going to be. You've probably seen a bunch of the memes out there, and which is highly entertaining. But I think it's a good thing. Like you said, there's enough going on. We have enough branches that having something dedicated to that is can be very important, especially in terms of national security, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because each one has their own budget. So the Air Force right now has the budget for normal Air Force activity, and then the space part. So a separate budget is always good because you have a dedicated accounting stream for for that. So,
and also, like you mentioned earlier too, with more companies, but having more branches, a Space Force, that's going to create more jobs right there too.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything that's going to create more jobs, I think, is also for this country is awesome.
Yeah. So are you going to watch the Space Force Netflix show coming out?
I actually did not know there was one, but I'm very curious.
I think it's I'm trying to remember the date. I think it's right before the crew mission comes up, so like the 20th something.
Space Force Netflix. First episode, May 29th, 2020.
Yep.
I got you.
So 2 days after the crew mission's going off, we're going to have the show to watch there. So.
Okay, actually, I have seen. Okay, I didn't. All right.
Yeah, I think Steve Carell or somebody.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, the guys from The Office made it, so it's going to be quite good.
Outlandish.
Yeah. But when the Space Force actually, I think they shared that post the other day, I was like, this is just pure magic happening right now. As long as sorry, Army, I've worn your uniform as a Navy person. I was attached to an Army unit, so I had to wear for a little while their camouflage, and it, again, I love DOD, my brothers. It's been a long time with y'all, but the uniform was crap. We were like, what are we going to blend into? Like a concrete, So as long as on the show, they have the uniforms kind of look like the lunar regolith surface. I really hope they don't look like that, but.
No, you wouldn't be a fan?
No, I would not be a fan of the way they look, but.
What would your preference be then?
As far as the uniform is concerned?
Yeah. What do you see yourself wearing while you're manning that gun up there?
Have you watched The Expanse at all on Amazon?
Yep.
Something similar to what the Mars Marines are wearing. I think that would be because it's a darker. I think it's gray or black, something to that extent. I mean, if you want to talk about camouflage in space, wear a black outfit.
What about when someone turns the light on?
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to sneak up on some dude on a spacewalk or something and you're just out in space, why not blend in, right? But,
Yeah.
Unless it's adaptive, I guess if it's electrochromatic or something, they can adapt color, then maybe that's a...
Or maybe the uniform should be more of a galaxy type, stars everywhere.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean... They spend millions of dollars on these uniforms, and sometimes they don't always turn out the best. But
wearing uniform pajamas, we'll never know.
Hey, I got some Star Wars pajama pants that I could wear up there, so it'll be all good.
So you're wearing right now?
No, I'm wearing jeans, unfortunately, right now. But I should have been wearing them. Probably be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's your mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, original Star Wars or...
Yeah, they were original Star Wars.
Okay. That's enough about your pants. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask. We were talking about, this the show and, Space Force and all that stuff, and it got me thinking about how many times I don't try to bring this up on every episode, but since we've known each other for a long time, and I'd like to get your view on this.
All right.
No, I'm sure I know the answers to the question already, but how do you see people that are like deniers of science? I won't even say like, globes and stuff. Like, what's your take on like climate? People doubt that we have any effect on the climate, and we're not doing anything at all. Like what's your kind of thoughts on people who just deny science? We'll just say that.
Oh boy. I mean, one big thing to point to right away is with all of the shelter in place and stay-at-home orders, not just here in the U.S. and around the world. You talk climate, but also just pollution. You look at like in Italy, how everyone's been, locked up pretty much there, and just within weeks, how much clearer the canals, the water, and everything there. And even in the U.S., like pollution levels drops in China. So, I mean, if that's not, like a flashing red light, saying, hey, like it does make a difference, but some of those people, doesn't matter what you tell them, you're never going to get through to them. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And just a side note, I'll throw it out there, the earth is flat. So,
Don't make me do it, man. Don't make me do it. No, I've had that conversation with people. Some people have argued with me online about, because I think one time Neil deGrasse Tyson posted something, and I wrote on what he was. I forget the response, but it was something I found, I guess, witty or whatever in my own mind. But some people started arguing. They're like, "Yo, the space is fake and the Earth is flat, bro." I was like, "Oh, here we go. We're going down this road." But I try not to.
It's just like the lunar landing, the flag. It looks like it's rippling. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean,
come on, flag can't ripple in the vacuum of space.
It's those solar winds, man. They're not even a thing out there. Yeah. Which, like, all that stuff just blows my mind, when people go down these roads. But I've always tried to say, as long as it doesn't, if it gets them through the day, then whatever. As much as I try and educate people, that's like part of the whole reason I even started this, was to just have, talks with everyday people about this stuff. And some of it can get very technical, but I try and, not dumb it down, but talk at like a normal level, was to help, like, maybe get people interested or to understand certain things. And like you said, as much as I'd love to educate people about it, there's some people you just can't, you just can't educate them on that.
And I think sometimes too, people, it's sort of that old saying of, what you don't know scares you. So like, if people don't know about something, they don't know like actual, science or technology behind it, then they're just, sort of in denial, like, oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, people are, that's applying to everything, including, vaccines and things. And I guarantee after some of this stuff, people might not be as, everyone's going to want this vaccine for COVID or whatever. So,
Yeah. But on the flip side, you also have people out on the side of the road, with signs, that are hashtag, this is a hoax.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the numbers are coming out to be different than they initially thought, obviously, as far as fatality and all that stuff's concerned. But, I mean, people are dying in particular places, obviously, so not discounting any of that. But obviously, the numbers haven't been exactly what they thought. So, maybe some of the initial thoughts were obviously faulty, but
yeah,
you can only operate with what you know at the time, right? As long as you adjust accordingly.
Yeah. So
we'll see. Time will tell. It's going to change everything for good or worse. It's going to change how we probably do everything. I mean, like you're talking about, like if we wanted to go to Disney, being Orlando, you're probably going to have to be required to wear a mask. they might not let you in. I mean, they're a private company; they can do whatever they want, but that might be the case. Who knows?
And then there's people throwing out the rumor of like, oh, they might, once there's a vaccine available, you basically have to have a certificate that says, hey, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
Which would just be ridiculous in my mind. But
yeah. I mean, like the Contagion movie where, they all had bracelets where after they got, I mean, who knows? We don't know what it's going to look like. And until it happens, I guess we'll find out. But
yeah, no, I don't see that. I see them trying to implement something like that, but the backlash that would come from that, yeah. I know a lot of places and states and cities, are very much against the stay-at-home orders and this, and that. Especially out here in Kansas, like in the Midwest, like there's some small rural areas that people are just like, you try and tell them to stay at home. It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
But I mean, for me personally, I mean, my typical day to day is, go to work, come home, play with the dog, hang out with the girlfriend and kids, go to sleep, repeat. So, I feel like I've been training for this whole social distancing thing for quite a while now.
Yeah, I feel like my deployments and then work as a private contractor and stuff, 100%, because being locked in a military base, you can't go outside because there's people out there who might want to cause harm to you. I mean, just a little bit. It's like 100% training perfectly for this. So, hey, I could go all day, but there's obviously some people who can't. So it is what it is.
I mean, I'm excited because I've got a window here. The office that I work in, there are no windows in the building, like period. So it's like working in a dungeon, and then the factory is right outside on the other side of the hallway. So you got rivet guns going all day long. It's great working from home. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's almost relaxing, I imagine, for you then.
Yeah, it's saving so much on gas driving to and from work. But yeah.
Yeah. So is there I'm trying to think, is there anything coming up as far as the space realm is concerned besides let's say like the manned mission right now is the only thing we can like 100% look forward to, and then the next one after that? Is there any like the rover missions or any of this other stuff that you've heard about that you're like really looking forward to, or is it just the general aspect of it is kind of just it's all exciting?
I mean, I think just everything in general. I'm looking up. I think they didn't even make it past the proposal, but I didn't know if you had heard. This is probably back in 2015, 2016 proposed timeline. They were talking about sending, something to Titan. The submarine. So I thought that was really cool, but obviously that didn't make it past, just the proposal. But, things like that are just, I think, pretty cool. Like, it would have been really awesome to see us send something to Saturn to be able to try and explore, the water there. But
yeah,
that's it's a bit out there too. So
I think we got a mission to Europa coming up. I think it might have won one of the contracts or a proposal or something. I could be off about that, but I mean that's exciting because obviously we know that it's full of water under the ice crust, obviously. But
let's see here. You said the Europa Clipper 2024. So. Yeah, I mean, most anything that we're going to see, like you said, those timelines are all 2024-ish. I think originally in SpaceX too, weren't they pretty aggressive in their timelines and had originally said 2022. I think back a couple of years ago. But obviously we've seen that get pushed back. So
I think 2022 might be the they're going to send unmanned one to the moon, yeah, in that time frame. But I think they might also internally, I don't know about externally, be shooting for that year for the Japanese like billionaire guy mission to there. But that's dependent on Starship becoming like fully stacked, super heavy, the whole booster, getting built. Because they're building Starship right now at I mean, anybody who doesn't think that's an impressive rate, I mean, they're literally building it vertically integrated, and they have almost 3 of them built simultaneously right now out in Texas. That's just insane speed. But they haven't started building the booster yet at all. But I mean, I don't know if it's proper to say that it's maybe easier to build the booster than it is the craft that has to be human rated part on the top for life systems and support systems and all that stuff. But
yeah, I mean, the booster, at least they have some experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a different booster, but it's the manned capsule. That's a whole new game because it's been so long since something like that. So yeah,
it's gonna be an exciting time, and I'm definitely looking forward to all of it happening for sure.
But yeah, and like you said too, the rate that they're able to build some of this stuff is just remarkable. I mean, it takes me long enough, when I'm doing a project around the house, whether it's, putting new flooring down or, just even hanging a picture up or something,
Yeah, because they just tested the Raptor engine the other day. They're going to have, I think, 32 of them on the booster is the newest output that they're originally going to have 42, but then they kind of scaled it a little bit.
Yeah.
They tested the static fire of it attached to the Starship the other day, and they already have serial number 5 being built and parts serial number 6. So, I mean, when they have 2 iterations past the one they're doing already being worked on, that's just insane speed. But that's what happens when you have your own money and you're not, regulated by a government which has all the checks and the holds that they have to go through to verify each thing and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But, they've also had failures that people are like, see if they were part of this and that wouldn't have happened. And like, well, yeah, but you learn by failure, right? So there's nothing wrong. It hasn't killed anybody. So nothing.
Yeah. I mean, if you succeed all the time, you're not going to, you learn most from your failures. So.
Yeah, I mean, the space race got off to a start with like horrible failures. So if anybody doesn't know, look back at some of the footage of the early 50s and you'll see like things exploding left and right. So, but yeah, man.
October Sky, great movie.
One of my favorites. One of my favorite movies. Yeah. It's great stuff. I love that show. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast this evening. And is there anything maybe like we can in the future maybe look forward to? You're going to be out to a launch here in Florida. You're going to come join us for one. What's going to happen?
I would love to make it down there to Florida for launch. That'd be awesome. You can drive me out in the Tesla.
Yeah, 100%.
There we go. Or it'll drive ourselves.
Hey, it can. So.
It can. So.
As soon as we're out on the highway and stuff, they haven't done city streets yet. I got an update today, so I have to go look at the release notes. But, I mean, like I said, 100% down if you come down.
Also have all the fun stuff too for different sounds for the turn signal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fart sounds and all that.
The fart sounds.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's a toy on wheels. That's how I describe it. But yeah, man.
That's why you got it.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to jabber with me about my favorite subject. And
absolutely.
I hope you can be a guest on here another time.